Hello, everyone. Welcome to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm so grateful that you're joining us for today's show. Yet another food show. I'm not sure why these food shows keep landing on my calendar. Maybe it's because I usually get samples, and I always am biased towards someone who comes into the studio with an armload of things to try. So we'll have a food show today, Tony's Tejas Salsa. I'll tell you a little bit about Tony as we get into the next segment. But I'm attracted to his story because it was a point in his life, based on the bio that I've read, that he just decided to make a big leap. He left the restaurant industry where he had had some great success and decided to make it on his own, making a food product. And it's not exactly the food product that I am interested in, though I do want to learn about it and certainly taste it. It's the bold decision to start something new. And I say that because this show today marks a pivot point, if you will. It was a year ago this week that I had a stroke on the treadmill, and I was rushed to the hospital. I am happy to say that I'm completely recovered. All kinds of new things have happened since then, but completely recovered. And at 55 years old today, it makes me say, well, maybe it's time to start something new. Maybe that was a call to action. Maybe it's taken me a year to realize what that message was, if you believe in those types of things. This past weekend, I went out to a friend of mine's grand opening. It was a farm-to-table beef company, and there was 1,000 people there waiting, most of whom did not know him. He had a lot of friends there that were there to support him, me being one of those. But most of the people that did know him, he made a huge bet on himself. This is Joey that was at the farm-to-table beef. He made a huge bet on himself, both emotionally, can I do this, as well as financially. I have no idea what those numbers are, but based on what I saw, they're big. And he's making a go of it. I've got another friend who is decided midway through his career that he wanted to help people with their retirement. So he is also in the restaurant business and became a New York Life agent and is doing quite well. These things seem to keep showing up around me. People who midway through their career are, in some cases, abandoning what they've done before, other cases keeping what they've done before and beginning I'm not sure side hustle is the right word, but taking on a new line of work that has some fulfillment to them. There has been years now that I have had this idea in the back of my head of something I used to do when I first started my career in my 20s that I left in order to become my own boss. What we did at that time was some extraordinary work on behalf of the participants in this course. It was a presentation skills course, and it was so much more than that. 3 days, leadership development, to watch these people evolve, to watch them transform as they began to learn their own power, their own influence in organizing their thoughts into a better presentation. None of these people were public speakers. They were corporate leaders, managers, supervisors who had to deliver content to their teams and began to realize who they could be if they could organize this. And in honor of Tony, in honor of Frankie, who started the New York Life thing, in honor of Joey, who made a big bet on himself, I'm going to do the same. That's what this year is going to be. As I look my stroke 1 year in the background, I'm going to start it off and try to recreate this program that I loved back in the day. You can follow me along with this as I take a new bet on my business capabilities. When we come back from break, Tony will be with me. He's going to tell us about a bet he made on himself and what he calls the world's best salsa. We'll be right back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Again, thanks for joining us. We'll be right back.
This is Seth Cherniak, Vice President of Branch Development for the Jeffrey Matthews Financial Group. If you're an experienced financial advisor wanting the freedom of independence but aren't sure making that jump is right for you, we should talk. Jeffrey Matthews has developed a successful program for advisors who don't want to be 1099 contractors and don't want to pay for their own overhead. We're looking for advisors who want the freedom to run their business the way they see fit with the support that comes with a W-2 firm. If you're interested in joining one of our branches, or if you want to open your own branch as a full-time employee, let's chat. Our compensation plan is one of the most competitive among all W-2 firms, big or small. Reach out to us today at jeffreymatthews.com, connect with me, Seth Cherniak, on LinkedIn, or click the link in the podcast.
Jeffrey Matthews Financial Group, member FINRA, SIPC. We're back. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Thank you again for joining us in the show. As I promised in the first segment, sitting across from me is Chef Tony Tejas. He's a serial food entrepreneur. Began his efforts in about 1984. Prior to the mics going on in the studio here, he's been telling me a little bit more about his background, and I'm not sure this one show is enough to capture it all. Tony, thank you so much for your time. Chef Tony, pardon me, thank you so much for your time. Welcome to What's Working.
Absolute pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I'm a big fan, and I'm super excited about telling folks about what I got going on.
You got a lot going on, as we've been talking about. So let's begin with the story. Everybody wants to hear the story. It seems to get everybody invested in what comes next in our interviews. It began, according to your bio on your website, in 1984. Start there for me.
Back when I was a wee lad, riding my father's leg. It actually started before then. I was 5 years old. My folks are from Mount Vernon, Alabama, a little small town you could spit across.
Yeah.
And when I say serial food entrepreneur, I'm not talking Frosted Flakes. I mean, I can't get enough. And when I was 5, my first business was I would sell frozen Kool-Aid in cups and walk around my grandmother's neighborhood and sell Kool-Aid to folks. So I'm born in Alabama, Mobile, at Old Providence. And then we moved to Texas. And that is when my life was heavily influenced. Houston was this big city with so many things going on, and it just was the most influential part of my life, I would say. And we would go to these high-end Mexican restaurants, and I mean, we're talking, they're making fresh tortillas in the middle of the dining room, and I'll have these amazing Mexican meals, and I just loved it. And, all the way from that to stopping by the tamale truck down the house to pick up dinner. And I'll never forget, my mom bought this little pack of salsa seasoning, and she made salsa at home. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever that she can make that stuff I love at the restaurant. And that was my first influence with homemade salsa.
Yeah. So many food stories, I feel like, begin with some sort of influence at home. It was mom's cooking. It was grandma's cooking. It was dad's meat smoking or barbecues. Yours was not so much at home as, look at what this restaurant has created that allows my mother to make it at home.
Well, restaurants were born from when nobility got booted out and we went to a different political system. These chefs that were making all these amazing meals and needed a platform to continue to work. So it was a way to give the common man royal food. And that's kind of the concept that I've taken on with everything I do. I love to create these amazing dishes for the common person.
Yeah. So you call it the world's best salsa. Tony Tejas makes the world's best salsa. And your first memory, it sounds like, of salsa was when your mother made it at home from the ingredients, the spice pack or whatever it was that she bought. What made you get into salsa as your launching point? I'm looking here at a variety of products, but it started, if I understand your story correctly, with salsa. Why salsa?
Well, because of that influence back then, cooking is innate for me. It's in the bloodline from both sides of the family. And I was a restaurant manager for 20 years, and I put in this time training myself how to operate my own restaurant. And I was working on a restaurant concept, and it was a fajita salad on this menu. Fresh salsa, fresh guac, sour cream with the dressings. Went to the grocery store to find fresh salsa, and there was nothing worth buying. It was all garbage. I couldn't eat it. I wouldn't serve it to anybody if I'm not going to eat it myself. And I said, well, I could do better than this at home. So I went home and I channeled all of the flavors and styles and texture that I remember salsa being in Texas, and I whipped up my own. Years later, didn't get the restaurant concept off the ground, but I was working at Dreamland Barbecue at the time, and a buddy of mine came by, and I had some salsa left over and let him try it, and he was the first person to say, this is the best salsa I've ever had in my life.
Yeah.
You need to sell this.
So he wasn't doing that so you would waive the bill. He wasn't doing that. so you would send him home with it. He was doing it because he genuinely said, this is the best salsa I've ever had in my life.
And it's branded the world's best salsa because so many people that try it say this is the best sauce I've ever had.
Yeah. So Chef Tony Tejas is with me, if you're just joining us, sitting across from me behind an array of products here that he's created and is now in distribution across a pretty broad range. Is that about
12
it?
states across the Southeast. It's a regional product.
Yeah. And how did that begin? What was your first success in getting that distribution?
Well, I started off locally. I started making it at home, doing farmers markets like so many people do. That's a great food incubator. And I heard about Whole Foods. I had never heard of Whole Foods because there was never one down here. And they said, oh, your product will be amazing in Whole Foods. You got to go pitch. They sent me the link. I applied. They called me in for an interview. I showed up to the interview a week early and got a little nervous, went back, nailed it. They wanted to pick up the product before they even tasted it.
Really?
Yes. My pitch, because, when you're in business, especially in the food business, it's one thing to have a good product, but you have to have a strategy.
So that's interesting. Bearing in mind that the listeners of this show are generally business people, what was it that made your pitch, I'm not going to say superior to the salsa, but what was it that made your pitch so appealing that they wanted the product without tasting it?
I had a plan. I knew that not only if you put me in the store that I was going to be able to produce enough product, and I had a strategy on how I was going to sell the product. I had put together an investment group and had this amazing sales team who could promote and pitch the product, if not better than me, just as good as I did. And that is how you develop a food brand, is you have to get that in people's mouth.
The pitch, take me to the moment of the presentation from Whole Foods. Were you actually in front of them?
Yeah, it was held at the Pillars, and you sit down with one of the buyers, and I came in, I laid out my stuff like I did for you, and I said, this is the world's best salsa. And I would sell tons of it, and being in Whole Foods, I'll sell even more of it. It's the freshest, most delicious, healthiest, most versatile salsa you'll find in a grocery store.
And you had to have some documents. All these types of events tend to require paper. Tell me what the paper showed.
Well, they just wanted to see that you filled most of it out online before the conversation. And it's that you're producing your product safely, for liability issues and whatnot, that you've got all of your packaging squared away as far as labels and ingredients and whatnot, and that you're committed.
Yeah. Speaking of committed, your website, I've printed out some stuff from your website here, and it's a rather unique approach. Tony is on a mission to make the world a better place, one cup of salsa at a time. Why have you chosen salsa to make the world a better place? And this is probably an unfair question because we got 1 minute before the break.
Well, Salsa was my flagship product because the concept was able to be created with low capital, low overhead, and it's something that people love. It was one of America's top selling condiments. So it's an easy way to get it out to folks. And the name of the salsa is not the world's best salsa. It's Tony's Tejas salsa. Tejas is a Native American word for friend or ally. So literally what you're looking at is Tony's friend salsa.
Interesting. And well, we're coming up to the break. You're listening to What's Working, folks. We're going to pick this up after the break. I want to hear from Tony what he's doing to make the world a better place through his salsa, other than producing a remarkable salsa. I'm looking at 3, 6, 9 different products in front of me, all of which I'm sure are a part of making the world a better place. I can't wait for what's coming. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. We'll be back after this break.
This is Bill Eastet. I perfected my baking recipe behind my live music stage at my little restaurant in Fairhope, Alabama. We have custom-made smokers and small batch bacon made just for you. So if you're looking for the best bacon in America that has been cured, smoked, and even serenaded by songwriters, you definitely need to try Billy's Small Batch Bacon. www.billysbacon.com.
In the studio today with Chef Tony Tejas. He makes a variety of products. It began with a salsa. His website proudly proclaims that Tony is on a mission to make the world a better place, one cup of salsa at a time, and that's where we were when we left off. Tony, how is, there's obviously some sort of your ethos, some sort of your spirit, if you will, in these products about making the world a better place. What is that? Give us that side of Chef Tony Tejas.
Well, it starts with the taste. You can taste my spirit and passion and love in every product that I make. So what that's about is how my decisions as a businessman affect the people around me, from my employees to my investors to my customers. So I've come to several crossroads in this venture where I could either go cheap and unhealthy to grow my business and scale it rapidly, or stay true to what it is, healthy, clean, fresh, and it's a much harder road to hoe. But I do things as far as composting and recycling and using as much local produce as I can, how I treat my employees and how I pay them. And the products that I actually develop is really the biggest part, and really my focus as of right now. It's how I can make something that is delicious and unforgettable, but at the same time heals people.
Heals people.
Heals people.
So you're not interested in filling them up. You're not interested in, of course you want to be the dip that everybody, or the salsa that everybody uses on the Super Bowl. Right, because that's a big consumption time.
Yes, it is. It's my Christmas.
But it's not. You're not there to deliver massive volumes. You're there to deliver meaningful volumes.
Exactly.
Tell me about that.
Well, it started with the salsa, of course. It's super healthy, and I've had several people in Whole Foods and other health food stores that I sell it in, because I sell it in a variety of independent grocers around the Southeast. They say, thank you so much for making this product, because I'm on this low sodium diet and I don't have anything with flavor. I'm diabetic and I can't get anything to taste good. And they all those aspects you can get out of my dip. All right. And then this is my Texas. The salsa is all about that Southwestern upbringing. Texas, Arizona, growing up as a kid. I'm a Mobile guy as well. I created a line of vegan soups called Port City Soups. And that is where you get into the healing aspect of it. Not only are they delicious and slow cooked with love, but the ingredients actually heal your body because they're so clean and they're so delicious.
Yeah. So your pitch is not just, here's a soup that you can have for dinner tonight. Your pitch is, it's more than that. You're buying a soup that you can have for dinner tonight that's going to fill you up, that tastes good, that's going to heal you as well. And by buying this soup, you're allowing me to treat the people, my vendors, my employees, etc., better.
That's it.
And what type of, have you done enough research to know this pitch appeals to this type of buyer? Who is your customer out there?
I have an array. I have people who just want delicious. I have people who are vegan. They love the fact that it is a vegan product. I have people that are not doing well health-wise and want an alternative to the food they've been consuming them that's making them sick. And if you're looking to have a good time, the salsa is a party in a cup.
A party in a cup.
That's it.
Is it still the world's most popular condiment, salsa? I remember reading that years ago.
It is not. It's odd but true. Mayonnaise has become number one selling condiment in the U.S.
No kidding.
Yeah, that's what I said. How do you go from salsa to mayonnaise? But it's still in the top three.
Yeah. What is your goal for your brand here? Is your goal to build up enough volume and sell it to an investment firm? Is it to continue to grow slowly? Is it to increase distribution so that you're regional, you're doing well regionally, but to go to super regionally? Tell me what the vision is.
The end goal has always been to be an international product. And that's why I put World's Best Sauce on the cup. Yeah. Because it started off in 25 years to be a international product.
Yeah.
And working back from that, it's about being a national product and getting the proper distribution and production capacity to do that, to take on that type of volume. And I've invested a lot of time in educating myself about food science, logistics, and business to accomplish that goal. In the near future, it's to expand from being regional to a multi-regional product, to expand into the Southwest and into the further up the Atlantic coast, and to also scale and get into a multitude more stores. It's a very destination product. I've got a few stores locally, Whole Foods around the Southeast, and then Piggly Wiggly and Greer's are our local centric stores that you can find it at. But I want to make it accessible to more and more people.
So your goal is to grow, to increase the awareness out there. What is the next big win that you're looking for that will propel you to this next level? Is it a strategy that you've created for this win? I'm going to do this, and then I'll get that win. Or I guess the question is, how much of your future success will come from being at the right place at the right time and a little luck?
Most of my future success will come from a good strategy. Scaling a business is not like growing a business. You have to have the proper capital and you have to have the proper plan. And for me, I understand now that it's time for me to step out of production and give that to a much bigger company, and devote my time and talent and funds to promotion.
That's going to be hard. Your hand has been in the recipe, literally making these recipes since the inception. And now for you to go to where you want to go next, you've got to step away and do something different. You've got to perhaps hone or groom or something, a new skill set. And it's a common challenge that we've had on this show of entrepreneurs, many of who don't recognize that they're in the way. Those that do recognize that they're in the way of growth, struggling to develop a new skill set. How does that land on you?
Well, it goes back to when we first met at the Chamber of Commerce doing the Emerging Leaders class. It was about stepping out of your business, working on your business. And for me, I was in restaurants for 20 years, but I was in it from the operational side. I wasn't in the kitchen cooking every day. So for me to have to step into the kitchen and production and actually make a product was the new phase for me. What I'm doing is transitioning back to what I love and I know, and that's branding, that's marketing, that's sales. Unfortunately, logistics are a big part of that as well.
Yeah. And is this something that you're familiar with, the logistics component of it?
Not really. That's one I really had to educate myself on. It's a nasty beast. Logistics are, and what I found is because it is a perishable product and fresh product that it's not easy to get distribution deals. But I've finally secured deals with the two largest distributors in the country, the largest natural food distributor and the largest specialty food distributor. And that in itself is a challenge in dealing with them.
So I think a question I'd love to get your thoughts on, and maybe we'll do this after the break coming up, is if you could do it all over again, what would you do differently? If you could do it all over again, what amount of your success came from strategy versus luck? If you could do it all over again, how would you proceed? And would it have put you in a different place? That's a kind of a thoughtful question. We'll begin with that. And then after the break, what's next? You can't find a serial food entrepreneur that's not thinking, what's next? You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. I'm in with Chef Tony Tejas. We'll come back after this break to hear what the future holds for him.
This is Seth Cherniak, Vice President of Branch Development for the Jeffrey Matthews Financial Group. If you're an experienced financial advisor wanting the freedom of independence, but aren't sure making that jump is right for you, we should talk. Jeffrey Matthews has developed a successful program for advisors who don't want to be 1099 contractors and don't want to pay for their own overhead. We're looking for advisors who want the freedom to run their business the way they see fit, with the support that comes with a W-2 firm. If you're interested in joining one of our branches, or if you want to open your own branch as a full-time employee, let's chat. Our compensation plan is one of the most competitive among all W-2 firms, big or small. Reach out to us today at jeffreymatthews.com, connect with me, Seth Cherniak, on LinkedIn, or click the link in the podcast.
Jeffrey Matthews Financial Group, member FINRA, SIPC. Chef Tony Tejas calls himself a serial food entrepreneur. His website says he began thinking about food as a career, as a product that he could sell in 1984, but we've learned in our interview today that it happened a lot longer before that. Any sort of serial entrepreneur is very bad at sitting on results. Every serial entrepreneur is bad at creating one product. For the vast majority of entrepreneurs we've had on this show, what we're talking to them about is not their first, not their second, or even if it is their first, they've already got their second, third, and fourth business plan. It's a bug that bites. Tony, Chef Tony, what's next? What's next for Chef Tony Tejas?
Well, we're knee deep in the development of my soup line that's in stores, the Port City soups. I've got about 8 of them right now. Eventually, it'll be somewhere around 20 soups available. They're quite amazing, and I get to create.
You get to create.
Yes, creating is my happy place. I get to put my time and thoughts and passion into making this amazing soup. And that has transitioned into my latest ventures, which is vegan catering and vegan meal prep.
So talk to me about your vegan approach. Where's the root of that? And vegan often has a stereotype to it. Talk to me about your vegan approach.
It does. Do not believe vegan is a dirty word.
Yeah.
It is your friend. Being at Whole Foods and being around so many health conscious people, I've been exposed to it for years now. About 4 years ago, I came into some knowledge on how plant-based diets affect your body and mind, and it was attractive to me. And so you took a guy who specialized in barbecue and steaks and turned him into a plant-based chef. And it gives me a different experience with my cooking and with my dishes that I make, because I have such a deep root in cooking meat. I do a lot of the same techniques, but I just use plants.
Is it safe to say, Tony, that you're in some sort of metamorphosis right now? You've made a big bet, not a big bet, but a big push towards making the world a better place. You've gone from a master of cooking and smoking meats to completely vegan. It sounds like you're in a, what is the word I'm looking for? More than a transition, but nearly a rebirth of Chef Tony. Is there something going on here that is manifested in the foods that I'm looking at?
Yeah. I mean, I call it an evolution.
Evolution is a good word.
You must change. It's inevitable, and you want to change for the better.
Yeah.
And that's what I do with my time. And my mindset is I pump myself full of things that are positive and healthy. And I want to be the focal point for that. And that's what my vegan catering is about. You know, if you're having your meetings, if you're having your parties, if you're having any type of event, you can have delicious food and it still be good for you at the same time. You don't have to have one or the other.
Yeah.
And that's what that's all about. And the same thing with meal prep. I want the big thing about my salsa was I put my efforts into making it a household product. I didn't go down the venture of wholesale and selling to a bunch of restaurants and getting all that volume, because I wanted the brand recognition. I wanted to be what's sitting in someone's refrigerator when they open it up. So now with my meal prep, it's the same thing. I want you to open up your fridge, grab out that food, and it be amazing and delicious. And at the same time, you are benefiting yourself. And you're not giving up anything.
So the branding of the product, would you say it's dependent upon you right now, or is the product branded to stand on its own? So let me give you an example. I was with a friend this past weekend who is the face of his business, and people do business because of him. I got another friend over the bay who's got a remarkable line of bacon, and he is the face of that business.
I know Bill.
You know Billy. Is that your path? Are you the face of Tony Tejas right now, or are you hesitant to become the most known element of the brand versus the product itself?
Both. I am the face. I am the spokesperson. I am the celebrity chef, all at the same time. But there are tens of thousands of people that eat my product and have never seen me.
Yeah.
Have no clue of who I am. And that's the way the product is branded. You know, it's got the state of Texas on there, and I hand drew that myself because I wanted people to buy this product based on what's in that cup, not just from me. Now, the brand was grown through me being out there talking to people, letting people sample it, doing shows. But the core of what the brand is not me. It's high quality salsa.
So you are not you will support the brand. You will be a part of the brand, but you don't want to be too closely tied to the brand. You want people to taste the food and say, I like this food because it's good food, not I like this food because I know so-and-so and he's out there shaking hands all the time.
What I found from a marketing standpoint, that is effective for a instant sale, but it doesn't turn into nearly as much repeat business.
And do you have to be careful to scale back your presence?
Yes and no. I found that if I'm really in a situation where I'm looking to sell my product right then, it's all about me.
Yeah.
You know, this is mine. I created it, yada, 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 yada. If I want to be a household brand, I do more promos where I'm not involved, where people just walk up and see it and say, oh, this is on sale. I'm going to give it a try. And then it's their discovery. And that turns into a much bigger repeat customer base.
Tell me about the creative stuff. You're aware of the commentaries that I do that are broadcast on public radio, and it's probably the highlight of every week is to sit down and to be creative and try to figure out how that commentary is going to go. I love them. There's a creative itch that gets scratched by doing those commentaries. You have a creative itch. Yours gets scratched by cooking and combining ingredients. Tell me what it's like in the moments that you're doing that.
It's artistry. You know, I was raised to be a businessman. My father was a businessman. He implanted that into me all my life. And my first summer job was being his personal assistant at his company he ran in Texas. But when I'm creating new dishes, it's like writing a symphony. It's like painting a picture. I pull everything from out of my mind. I see it here, and then I put it into the pot, and it's joyful for me.
Do you make mistakes, or is it what you put in the pot is kind of predetermined by some sense that you have that this is going to work?
Well, once again, you know, cooking is innate for me. I've been doing it all my life and been around it all my life. So 95% of the time when I cook something, it's delicious.
Yeah.
Then there was this one time when I was developing my vegan gumbo. So I make a vegan seafood gumbo with no seafood.
Yeah, that's a conflict of terminology, isn't it? Vegan seafood gumbo.
It was terrible. I couldn't give it away. My first 3 pots, I didn't eat it. I tried to give it to family and they were like, no. So I had to do more research and tweak the recipe into now I make an amazing gumbo.
Vegan seafood gumbo. There are people out there that want to know how they can find you, Tony.
You can go to my social media, World's Best Salsa, on Facebook and Instagram. That's where I post all my updates, especially with the catering and meal prep. You can go to the website. That's got all the different retailers that sell it around the Southeast, and you can go right to the store and get it. Or you can reach out to me via email, and I will ship you what you need.
Chef Tony Tejas, a man that started in 1984 and today has grown a small empire that's on the rise of his world's best product. Chef Tony, thank you so much for coming on.
It's an absolute pleasure. It's been great.
We'll be back with segment 5 after this break. I'll tell you what I heard, and I'll tell you what's coming next on What's Working. You're listening to What's Working. I'm Cam Marston. Be right back.
I'm Joey Mason. For 4 years, my goal has been to produce the best farm-to-table products I'd ever eaten. I've done just that at our on-site USDA facility in Grand Bay, Alabama, allowing us to ship directly to your door. This is true farm-to-table. Visit us at masonhillsfarm.com to see all that we have to offer.
I don't know if you could sense it from the conversation that I had with Chef Tony Tejas, but he's a really nice guy. And I find people like that absolutely refreshing to bump into on this show. And there was an element of what he's doing there that I want to draw out for a moment in this closing segment. We've had guests on this show who are really focused on developing a business or a product for the exclusive purpose of growing it and selling it to some sort of in some sort of transaction. They dream of a significant cash payout, and there ain't nothing wrong with that. Then there are the ones that come in like Chef Tony, who have this underlying motive for what they're doing. Tony wants to make the world a better place. If you go to his website, you'll see that written all over the website. It's to make the world a better place. And how he's doing it is through these products. He had 9 products in here, these different products that he's making. Those products are designed to heal you. And he is going to make the world a better place through his premium quality ingredients that will heal you. many of the companies that we've talked to who have a remarkable company culture have an ulterior motive for what they do. And I'm thinking about the security firm out of Dothan, Alabama, that their company culture was so strong. And I'm thinking about the bank in Atmore. I'm thinking about many of the different groups that we've talked to who've said, we are here, not in Atmore, not in Dothan, not in Mobile, not wherever I've interviewed these people. We are here to serve. We're here to help people. We're here to make the world a better place. And we do it through blank. We do it through banking. We do it through security services. We do it, as in the case of Chef Tony, we do it through the manufacture of salsa and the 8 other products that they manufacture. We're here to make the world a better place. That's our job. It's a spiritual calling for many of these people. That's our job. That's what we're here to do. And we deliver our results through the manufacture or the distribution or the service of this. And it's a very powerful theme. Again, I've had people that are on the show to build, grow, sell business. I've had people on the show that have a calling to make the world a better place, and the business, even a car dealership locally, the business is the channel through which they do it. It's very interesting. And I find, frankly, I love all my guests, but I find the ones with those higher callings much more interesting to me. Really, to me, much more interesting. The next show, we're going to feature a guy named Shadrach Tootle. He is without a doubt the most charismatic promoter of product, and we'll meet him. You're going to be, the man is absolutely on fire, energetic. You're going to enjoy listening how he goes about building his business and his brand through this electrifying personality. And I can't wait to get him here in the studio. And there's something that we can learn about his brand. Tony has to be careful not to become too much a part of the brand. He wants the product to speak for itself. Shadrach Tootle is the brand and has, like I said, an electrifying presence. Hopefully it'll carry through the microphone on the show. We'll see. You're listening to What's Working. Have a good week, everybody. As you likely know, this show originates as a radio show broadcast across the state of Alabama, and it continues to grow in both radio listeners and market. After it's formatted for radio, we then turn it into this podcast. Please share it with those you think would find it interesting, and subscribe to the podcast on my YouTube page where you can leave messages and your thoughts and your comments, and I'll certainly get back in touch. Finally, if you're a fan of the show, please offer a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can find my book called What Works on Amazon.com. In it, I highlight the top 10 ideas from the first 200 episodes of the show. Mind you, they're not the top 10 best episodes. They're the top 10 best ideas. Many times the same ideas are brought up again and again by different guests, and we dig into those ideas in such a way that they'll be easily applicable for your business. Simply go to Amazon and enter my name, and you'll find What Works as well as my other books. Chapter titles include How to Find a Niche, Innovation, Building Teams, and so forth. To learn more about the workshops and seminars I offer, go to cammarston.com. There you can view clips of my work, view workshop titles, view my reviews, case studies, customer lists. It's all there. If you'd like a free copy of one of the chapters of my book, enter your email address at the bottom of the homepage at cammarston.com. And from that site, you can email me directly. I always love to hear from you. You'll also find me on social media. Find Cam Marston on all the social media platforms, and you may need to enter the numeral 1. There's one other Cam Marston out there, and that numeral 1 distinguishes me from him from time to time. So if you're unsure if it's me or not, enter that numeral 1 after my name, and it should do the trick. On a more personal and less professional side, I record weekly commentaries that air across Alabama on Alabama Public Radio twice each day on Fridays called Keeping It Real. They've won statewide and national awards. They're simple observations on the world as it goes on around me, and they're only a few minutes long. They're a passion. You can find them on the same podcast app you're using to listen to this. Finally, if you're interested in advertising on this podcast or the radio show, reach out. I've worked hard to cultivate a specific listener, and I can tell you all about them, and I have many different options for helping you reach them. Thanks again for listening. We'll have another episode available soon.